Hi, welcome to NYP Music Theory. Today's harmonic analysis of Bach's chorale is R2 from Albert Riemenschneider edition. The title is Ich dank dir, lieber Herr, means I thank you, dear Lord. The very first thing to prepare is to understand the key of this chorale. It is in A major. Therefore, we prepare all the triads in A major and the related key chart for modulation. Let's dive in. This is an overview of the chorale. It starts with A major and ends with A major. Section A is from bar 1 to bar 4 with the double bar line and the repeated dots means the A will be repeated. A, and section B will be slightly longer. And this is the common form of German chorale. Let's look at section A first. In the first phrase, we can find a couple of passing notes here. They are all unaccented passing notes. The very special feature we can find it here is the E minor modulation, which is very rare in Baroque period because E minor is out of the related key chart. How do we know? As we observe this leading note to E, but not to E major because of the G natural. So this is a E minor chord. If we assume this D sharp is the leading note of E, then we have to check vertically. Yes, it is B, D sharp, F sharp. So it is E minor 5B, and then resolve to 1. This is an example of modulation without pivot chord. This is by chromatic movement, D, D sharp, E. And we can call it transient modulation. After that, at the end, we can see there's a G sharp here. And because of the D sharp, vertically, it's still a E major 5. Or we can consider this passing notes as the 5-7. So 5-7-1 in E major, confirm. This is the phrase modulation. And E major is the dominant key of A major. So in the very first phrase, we said this E minor modulation is very rare, but it is maybe a surprise. Towards the end of second phrase, we can see a 1C5-1 or 1C5-7-1 typical ending of the phrase. In section B, we observe the cadence end on a E major chord. And because of the G sharp, we assume that this is back to A major. If it is in A major, it will be A major 5, E, G sharp, E. Then when we work backwards, this is A, C, C sharp. This is A, C sharp, E. So this will be a 1B in A major. Then another chord backwards will be A major 4, D, D, F sharp, A. So these two quavers are acting as unaccented passing notes. As we look at these two chords here, because of the G natural, it may be a passing note or it may be a modulation. With the G natural, we assume that this will be in D major 5B 5-7-2-1. Sounds like E so do. It really looks like D major modulation, but it is very short, and we can say this is a transient modulation, and you can also observe this as a secondary dominant. A major, 5-7 of 4, and then resolve to 4. Then the two quavers here in the tenor are passing notes. One in the bass, G sharp here, is also a passing note. Towards the end of the second phrase in section B, we find the B minor chord here. Then we may assume there will be a modulation. It's more convincing if we look at the A sharp, and this A sharp act as the leading note to B minor. Double check vertically with the chord tones here. It's B minor 5, F sharp, A sharp, and C sharp. We can look at all the A sharps in soprano, tenor, and the alto. So start from here. After the fermata, this chord can act as a B minor 7B to 1. So still the A sharp as a leading note to B minor, and it works. And this modulation is abrupt without any common chord. After the B minor chord, we can see the alto part has A natural and G natural. This, we can explain it as a melodic minor descending. So it becomes the tonic. The second half of this one chord is to change the tenor part so that it can fit the following tenor part leading note here. And it acts as a suspension. Delay the A sharp, and at the end we can see a syncopation rhythm here, which makes the tenor part more interesting. We can look at the bass part and the soprano part. This is a good contrary motion using the passing 6-3. La ti do ti la. Before the 5, we will have a question of this E and this G natural. This E acts as a lower auxiliary, but this G doesn't look like passing note nor auxiliary. We can take it as an escape tone, resolved downwards. But if we want to recognize it as a chord, it's also possible because this is near the cadence. The harmonic rhythm will be faster. So this becomes 4B before the 5. We can move on to the last line. This B minor chord can act as a pivot chord in A major. A 2 chord then goes to A major 3, going back to A major all the way towards the end. We continue to look at the last line. Look at the cadence here. It's a E G sharp B chord. So it goes back to A major, and we can confirm an imperfect cadence here with a couple of passing notes, accented passing note in the soprano. So no more modulation. In the bass, we have another usage of passing 6-3. Towards the end, there is a special chord we seldom use, but once in a while we can find it in Baroque music, 2-7-D. So when you spell out this chord, is B, D, F sharp, A. So this is the D position with a couple of passing notes again. 2-7-D goes to 5-B, 5-1. Look at this tied note. Tied note doesn't mean it's always a suspension. It is only a chord tone because we can check vertically. This is just an A, C sharp, E chord, A major chord with a G sharp passing note. Then finish with 4B, 1C, 5-1. But in between the 1C and 5, we can see the tenor and the bass has a little movement. If we just look at the bass line, the D looks like an auxiliary, but the F sharp doesn't fit into any category of non-chord tones. So we may assume that this is a 4-7 chord, just to add some more movement before the final cadence. All right, these are the analysis of this chorale. Let's have a listen to it. Thanks for watching. If you find the video helpful, please like, share, and comment below. See you next time.